As you come in live, guys, just say hi. I'd love to see who's in here. Hey, our awesome life. Let me know where you're streaming from. Hi, Kaylin. You guys heard this song? It's so amazing. It's called No Longer Slaves, and it fits perfectly with what I'm going to be talking about today, because I believe that we can be the change that we want to see in the world. A slave for fear. I am a child of God. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. Alright. I just felt like that song was very fitting with what I'm going to be talking about today. So I wanted to play that for a little bit. If you don't know, it's by Bethel, which is a church in the United States, and they have amazing music, and that is one of their songs. It's one of my favorites. It's called No Longer Slaves. Alright, I just want to double check that I am live. I mean, I know I'm live, I can see you guys, but I'm also streaming on another page, but I can't seem to see my face. So I'm going to trust that I'm on there. And I'm just going to go ahead with this. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. This is my first YouTube live. I'm very excited. I go on Facebook Live all the time, but I haven't done YouTube. So this is cool. Hey, Marianne. Hey, Tanya. I'm so excited to have you guys all on here. Feel free to comment, and as I can, I will respond to your comments. But today, in case you don't know, I am talking about Destiny Rescue, which is an organization, a non-for-profit organization that I am very passionate about, because what they do is they rescue children out of sex trafficking, and they provide aftercare and they rehabilitate them and all of that so that they continue living their life without having to re-enter the industry. So has anyone heard of Destiny Rescue before? Let me know in the comments if you have. I had the opportunity of meeting with a guy, a lovely man called Tim, just this week, and he works for Destiny Rescue. And I had the opportunity to ask him lots of questions about, like really detailed questions about what they do. And so I've got some notes here that I'm going to be referring to so that I can pass on the right information to you guys. But basically, yeah, they're a not-for-profit organization that helps to rescue girls out of sex trafficking. They also obviously rehabilitate with the aftercare, but they also take care of vulnerable children as well that could potentially fall into that trade. So I'm going to be talking about what they do exactly and how they do it and how we can get involved, because guys, when you hear, I mean, I'm already getting chills when you hear what these children go through and the life that they're forced into. It's not a life we want anybody to be in, especially young children. Children should be children. They should be able to be innocent and live their lives playing and having fun. But unfortunately, in many countries, including Western countries, in Australia, the United States, it's very prevalent as well. But there is so much of it happening in third world countries where children are being sold by their own parents so that they can make money for the family, so that the rest of the kids in the family can eat and go to school. And it brings tears to my eyes. I'm already getting chills just thinking about, knowing that I have two girls myself, and they were blessed to be born in a country, into a loving home, into a country that this isn't the norm. It's still happening for sure, but it's not something that us Westerners would ever do, is sell our children into sex slavery. And it's something that we need to end, and they can't do it on their own. They need to, it needs to stop, and it needs to start with us helping to raise awareness, to raise money, and also to get out there and help any way we can. Tara, so where you can donate, there should be a link in the description of this video that you can go to donate. So I'm running this campaign alongside Everyday Hero, which is an amazing company that comes together with all different Australian organisations, and they help to raise money for all different organizations. So it's not just sex trafficking, but there's animal liberation, there is, like World Vision, there's all sorts of charities for, cancers and things like that. So they work with all different charities, and they help to put on fundraisers and events to help raise awareness around the charity and raise donations as well. So I'm working with them, and I chose Destiny Rescue to talk about because it's something that is very, very important to me, and I want to be able to protect and help as many children as I can. So onto it. So since 2011, they have rescued over 2,500 children, and over 500 children this year alone. So that's amazing. So I'm going to talk about what goes into rescuing, because it's not as simple as you would think. But they are seeing, a 100% or over 100% increase on their rescues each year, which is just amazing. And as much as they'd like to say that the rescues are decreasing because they're making that much of a difference, it's actually not the case at this stage. It is just so highly prevalent. It is just happening every single day. Sex trafficking is such a huge, huge issue. And the United Nations actually tells us that there are more slaves in the world now than there ever has been. So it's very, very real. It's very much alive, and it's happening all around us. And that's pretty scary, that, we have learnt about the African American slaves, and, there was the issue with the Jews and all of that, the Holocaust. There's been so many times in history where we have, learned to, there's been slavery, and we've come out of it, which has been amazing, but it's still very, very much happening. And sex trafficking is a huge, huge part of that. It's a massive, massive industry. So just on the news the other day, there was a Brisbane-based Indian. Brisbane is a city in Australia, if you didn't know. And basically, he coerced his wife and his daughter to go back to India to traffic them. And he made false representations to customs in Australia to have their passport cancelled, so that they could not return to Australia. So, this is just one example of the fact that it's happening even in our Western countries. So it's pretty scary, and we're literally only seeing the tip of it. We don't get to see the magnitude of what is happening. I mean, if you go over to those countries, you definitely see a lot more of it, but we're only exposed to the tip of it. So this is why it's important to raise awareness, so that more people understand that this is a big issue, and this is not something that's just made up. This is for real. Children are being sold by their own parents. Children are being stolen and forced into the sex industry, where they're made to work in bars and brothels. It's pretty awful. So Destiny Rescue currently work in Thailand, India, Cambodia, Dominican Republic, Laos, and Philippines. And they're working on where they can go next, but they're trying to figure out where they can have the most impact for the smallest amount of outlay. And so they're just trying to figure that out, but that's where they work at the moment. So let's talk about the rescue missions and how it works. So dedicated rescue agents who are very highly trained, they don't just let anybody into it, work very closely with the relevant authorities in the country. They even work with the Australian Federal Police, but they work with the authorities in those countries as well. And so what they do is these rescue agents go undercover after undergoing their full-on training, and they'll go into the bars and the brothels, and they basically have to identify the underage girls. And then one of two things will happen. So they'll engage with the kids and they'll sit and talk to them. They'll tell them who they are and what they do, and they'll basically tell them that there is another way and they can help them get out of this. Some kids will say yes right away, which is amazing, and that's a miracle. That's awesome. They can rescue them right away. Others, unfortunately, will not be they will not say yes straight away. And you have to understand that many of these kids have been trafficked 2, 3, 4, even 5 times before they get to that bar or brothel. So to the people that traffic them, they are not human beings. They are purely a commodity, and they get passed on and sold and so on and so forth. And so these children just don't have a lot of trust with adults. So it can take 4 or 5 times to gain their trust. They'll have to come back to the bar and continue to talk to them and gain that trust with them, and give them that alternative and allow them, for the child to actually feel comfortable enough to allow them to take them out of there and give them that alternative. The other way that they'll do it is they'll actually go in and they'll identify 6 or 7 underage children. Then they'll go to the local authorities and they'll say, here is the vision, we've taken through concealed cameras. And then they work with local police, and what they do is they will organize a raid. And so then the authorities will go in and they'll raid the bar or the brothel, and then Destiny Rescue will follow in right after the raid, and they'll say to the children, come with us, we've spoken to you before, you know what it's all about, we're going to help you, and they'll rescue them that way. Unfortunately though, it just does not stop at the rescue. So I do want to mention before I go on to aftercare that my sister actually did a mission trip in the Philippines, and she actually spoke to one of the rescue agents with Destiny Rescue, and she was just blown away and gobsmacked by what he was saying. So basically these rescue agents, it's all voluntary. And they basically put their life on the line. It's a very, very dangerous job. They have had, knives and guns held up to them. They are putting their own lives at risk every single day in order to rescue these children. It's not just as simple as going into the bar and talking the children into coming with them. It sounds easy, but it's actually not that simple at all. And so you have to understand that these people are, they're volunteering their life basically in order to save these children. So it's pretty powerful. And so the more money that we can get behind supporting these organizations, the better, because the better equipped they're going to be to train more people to go and do this. So basically, it doesn't stop at rescuing. The aftercare is actually really, really, really important. And this is so that they don't go back into it. The rate of abused children that have been in the industry that end up back in it is really horrifically high. And that's because they just don't know anything else. That's really the only thing or the skill that they know. And it's the only way they know how to survive. So, in Eastern cultures as well, like I mentioned before, the oldest child, well, I didn't mention this, sorry. The oldest child is responsible for working, and this is part of their culture. So they're responsible for working to send money back to the family, to support the rest of the family. So we have to understand that oftentimes these children have been, sold by their own parents, as I mentioned before. Or they've been sent to the city to find work, and so they just can't go back home. It's after their rescue, it's not an option to be able to just be sent back to their family, because they have a responsibility to their family to support them. And so if they are just sent straight back home, they're probably just going to end up back in the industry. The parents may sell them out again. It's a really sad thing, and it's something that we as Westerners really just cannot understand or get our heads around. How can a parent sell one child to feed, clothe, and provide schooling for the other children? But it's embedded in their culture. And so that's why we need to give them other options, so that they don't feel like their only option is to sell their children. Okay, so some parents will sell them into the trade knowing what they're getting into, while others, send them to the city to find work. And when these kids, get to the city, they're so young, and there are priors of the industry, and they are very well experienced in seeing a younger child, and they'll see them looking around the city and just kind of looking lost and not knowing what's going on. They can pick it very quickly, and then they prey on them. So Destiny Rescue, Tim from Destiny Rescue shared a story with me, and it's a story about a girl that they actually share quite regularly. So there was a little girl that they rescued, and she was sent to the city, and she was looking around, and she was, I think she was trying to find a friend, wait for a friend in a coffee shop. And a lady, not a man, a lady approached her and said, are you okay? And the little girl said, I'm looking for my friend who's going to help me find work. And the lady said, oh, I know your friend, come with me. And so she took her back to a bar, and the friend wasn't there, obviously. And the lady said, oh, no worries, your friend, she got held up. Stay here tonight, she'll be here tomorrow. Your friend will be here tomorrow. And then, of course, the next day came, and the friend wasn't there, and she goes, oh, your friend's been held up, just stay here. And then they went back to the bar, and she said, oh, your friend's inside. And then she went inside, the friend wasn't there. Oh, your friend's been held up. But here, in the meantime, put these clothes on, put this makeup on, and there you have it. So what you need to know is, from then on, the kid is trapped, because they owe for the lodging, they owe for the clothes, the makeup, and they will never ever pay it off. So whatever they earn is never ever enough to, for what they owe. And so they're basically trapped forever. And these are children. They're not strong. They can't stand up against an adult. And I don't think most would. They would be terrified. And so they end up just completely trapped. So part of the aftercare is that Destiny Rescue have houses, but they're starting to actually send more girls to other organizations that they partner with that really specialize in the aftercare. But in India and Cambodia, they have homes for girls and for boys, because this isn't just an issue with girls. About 95% are girls, but 5% are boys. And so they rescue boys as well. And these homes basically put a roof over their head. They give them clothing. They provide food, education, vocational training. But more importantly, they get to live as normal life as possible, with people that care for them. They give them love. They nurture them. All of that stuff. So the main point of aftercare is really to equip them, to be able to look after themselves on their own. So without having to go back into, the industry. And Destiny Rescue own a couple of hairdressing salons. They own coffee shops and things like that. And so what they do, and part of their vocational training, is that they teach them these skills. So they teach them hairdressing skills. They teach them how to make coffees and become a barista. And these are all viable businesses that help to go towards what do you call it? I've had a mental blank. The profits from these businesses go towards the operating costs and to help fund the homes and things like that. But basically, these skills equip them with the opportunity to go out into the world as an adult and be able to get a job and contribute to the economy and the community, and be able to still provide for their family without having to be in an industry that they should not be in. So the average age of children that come to these houses are 13 to 14 years old, and they'll end up, they'll stay for 2, 3, 4 years in aftercare, depending on their age. But hear this. This is probably one of the hardest things that I had to hear. The youngest child that Destiny Rescue has rescued was 4 years old. So just think about that for a minute. 4 years old. Caprice is 4. And when he told me that, my stomach dropped and my heart basically stopped for a second, because all I could think about was my little girl working in a brothel. And it really hits home. That really, really hits home for me. So, and it doesn't matter what their age is. It's not right, no matter what their age is. But hearing that a 4-year-old was forced to do this is just beyond anything I can ever imagine. And yeah, so this is a real issue, guys. Yeah, this gets me choked up. This is why I'm so passionate about raising awareness and talking about it, because that's not okay. That no child should ever go through that, ever, ever, ever. So, Race, do the agencies not shut these places down once these children are rescued? No, they don't. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. I'll talk about that. I will be talking about the involvement with the government and stuff like that. Okay, so the biggest issue is that the longer that this goes on, it becomes generational. And so, you know, like you think about grandmas have been trapped in it. She was the first, she fell pregnant, the child was born into this, they know nothing else. Then the child grows up and falls into it as well. They have no escape and they know nothing else. And now we're starting to see third generation. So grandmother, mother, and then the granddaughter. And so they're starting to see those, the granddaughter is now the one that they're kind of rescuing. They're starting to see that now. So the United Nations stats show that the average life expectancy of these children is 5 to 6 years after being trafficked. And this is because they're not viewed as being a human. They're viewed as a commodity. And, you know, they are basically beaten and bashed to a pulp, often. And this can be for many reasons, but one of the reasons is because they don't perform the way that the man specifically wants them to perform. They're not doing what the man wants them to do exactly, and so they will get beaten and bashed. And we're seeing like the life expectancy obviously is just very, very low, because these children are not only having to perform sexual acts that they should never have to do, and they're being exploited sexually. And you can imagine how painful that would be for a little girl or a little boy to have insertion, but they are also being beaten and bashed. So this is populated by Caucasian males. There's about 50 to 60,000 men a month that fly into these Asian countries, specifically for the sex trade. 50 to 60,000 people a month. This is full on. Hey, this is just full on. So the other thing is that this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. So the governments, they realize that it's an issue and a problem, but they basically turn a blind eye to it because it's an enormous, enormous part of their economy due to all the tourists visiting. They're spending money in the country, you know, to buy food. They're staying at hotels. So they're spending money beyond what they're just spending, you know, in the bars and brothels, obviously. So it's a huge, huge part of the tourism and their economy. And so they basically turn a blind eye to all of it because of this. They know it's a problem, but no, they don't shut down the bars and the brothels because it brings in such a huge amount of money for their economy. And so they will help to rescue the kids, but they won't actually stop it. They won't actually do anything. And they'll help to rescue the kids if, Destiny Rescue or other organizations go to them and get asked for their help, but they won't do it on their own accord. So the United Nations is now saying that the sex trade is the number one profit industry in the world. And this is behind drugs and tourism. Oh, sorry, I just said number one tonight. It's the number 3 profit industry, the number 3 profit, and that is behind drugs and tourism. So that's pretty huge. It's a massive industry, multi-billion dollar. And I just saw a comment pop up saying money is the root of all evil, and I was gonna actually say it's actually the love of money. It's not money. Money is not evil because we can do a lot of good with money, but it's the love of money that is the root of all evil. And that actually is a verse in the Bible, and people do misconstrue that a lot, but it's important to know that money is not evil because we can do a lot of good. If there is more people, good people with money in their hands, we can do a lot of good with it. But the love of money that blinds you from values and morals and protecting the innocent or protecting people in general, that is where money becomes evil. But it's the love of money that is the root of all evil. So there are also prevention homes where they identify the girls that are vulnerable, and people will contact Destiny Rescue as well, and they'll say these things are happening, we think this girl is going to end up in it, and rescue agents will actually go out and find them, talk to them, and then bring them into these prevention homes, and they are treated very similarly to the girls who have gone in it, not identically, because obviously the girls that have come out of the trade have been damaged mentally, physically, and emotionally. So these girls require a certain level of aftercare that girls that haven't been in it need. But they are very similar in the situation where Destiny Rescue will educate them and look after them. And in some cases where the kids have been tricked into the trade without their parents' knowledge, they'll actually send them back to the family. And they'll talk, a counsellor will actually go there and talk with the parents. They'll find out that the parents didn't actually want this to happen. And they will... they'll send the child back to the family, and then they'll subsidize the family. So they'll give them money each week so that they don't have to send the child back to the city to find work, because obviously if they go back to the city, they may not be as lucky and they may end up in it and never be able to return home. So Destiny Rescue are not-for-profit, which means that they rely on private donors and other means to cover operating costs. A couple of ways that they do this is part of the Thai girls' vocational training is they teach them to make jewelry, and so Destiny Rescue will then buy that jewelry off these girls, and then they will sell it on their website, and you can buy it from the Destiny Rescue website, and all the profits from that jewelry will actually go towards the operating costs. There's also, like I mentioned before, they've got the hairdressers and the coffee shops and things like that. So the profits from those also go towards the operational side, and they rely on donations for all of the projects. So going in and rescuing the girls and things like that. They also do a bunch of other things other than jewelry and stuff. So they sell coffee mugs and Christmas decorations, and they have all sorts of merchandise and things like that you can buy on their website. And it's a really great way to support the operations side of the organization. When I hear that an organization is not for profit, I love hearing that, because I know that, so much of the money that you donate is obviously, like, all of the money that you donate is going towards the project. But I'm also very passionate about helping in any way I can to keep these organizations operating, because obviously they can't operate without funds, and so the not-for-profit organizations have to come up with different ways to obviously make money to keep it operating. And so basically through all the merchandise and things like that. You can do that. They also have jewelry parties where you can actually, I think it's something like you can get sent 90 pieces of jewelry, and you can like have a jewelry party, and you can talk about Destiny Rescue and explain what they do inside your home with people there. And you can just ask people to buy a piece of jewelry, and then all the profits that you make from that, you send back to Destiny Rescue, and that goes towards the operating costs. So little things like this really are amazing to do. It's really obviously important and awesome to support the actual project of rescuing the girls, but keeping this organization operating is just as important to me anyway, because without it, these children wouldn't be rescued. So anything you donate through the website goes towards the project, and then there's the merchandise and things like that where you can donate to help with the operating costs. So there's many ways that you can obviously get involved. One way is that they have an advocacy program where you go through an interview process. You have to have a working with children clearance and all of that stuff. And then they go out into the community and they spread the story. They talk in church groups, mother, daughter, kindergarten group things. You can almost do it however you'd like. Destiny Rescue kind of gives you that freedom. They have to kind of sign off on what you want to do, but you have a lot of freedom with how you want to get the word out. And basically it's all about just spreading awareness. You become an advocate to spread awareness around what's happening, and to help make more people aware and to help raise some more money. But then there's also internal advocates, which require some sort of skill set to come and work with Destiny Rescue in the office. These are all volunteer basis as well. So they have those kinds of things available as well. They also do team trips. So it's like a 2-week trip where you can go to Thailand and Cambodia, and you can spend time with the kids. But what they've done is they've set it up so that it's not just purely working. So you do a lot of your volunteer work, and you hang out with the kids, and you plant trees with them, and you paint with them, and you do things like that, and just love on the children. But they also do things like mother-daughter trips where they make it a bonding time as well. So you have time to actually be a bit of a tourist and bond with, mummy and daughter, or you can go and hang out and do some touristy stuff on the trip as well. So they wanted to make it so it's not just purely, because this stuff is really heavy. When you are exposed to this kind of stuff, they didn't want to make it to the point where you're just like bombarded with the heaviness. You're feeling the weight of what's going on. So they wanted to make it kind of a fun trip as well. So they do those, and you can get this information all on the website. So financially, you can, like I mentioned, you can give one-off donations, which are tax deductible over $2. And they also have a program called Sponsor a Home. So unlike the World Vision type charities of the world that do sponsor a child, Destiny Rescue can't actually show the kids' faces because of what they've been through. It's not safe. So they can... They've actually set up this Sponsor a Home where you can actually be making a difference to the whole family, not just one child, which I actually love so much better, so much more, because, with Sponsor a Child, that is amazing, by the way. But when hearing this Sponsor a Home, I was like, wow, that just makes so much sense, because when you sponsor a child, you're sponsoring only that child to get education and all of that stuff. But when you sponsor a home, you're sponsoring education for all the children. The whole entire family has food, they're clothed, they get vocational training, professional counseling, all of that. So Destiny Rescue also go into schools, excuse me, and the kids will get together and they'll make a stand and they'll fundraise and all of that. So they do all sorts of things to try and raise money to help this. So the biggest thing for them though is really getting the story out. So there's people, making aware of what's going on, because I'm sure some of you on here today may not have really known the true weight of what is happening. Can you comment if you actually knew the magnitude of what was happening? or comment if you didn't know. I'd love to hear, you know, from you, if you could tell me, like, if you knew what was happening, or if this was kind of new news to you. You knew about sex trafficking, but you just didn't know the details. Because I'll tell you, I didn't know the details. I really didn't. I had no idea. I just knew something like that was happening, but I really didn't understand the details of it, and it really opened my eyes a lot when I looked into it more, and when I spoke to Tim. So let me know in the comments. So every little bit counts, guys. You don't have to be spending $50 a month to make a difference. I know not everyone's in a position to do that. If you are, oh, that's amazing. It's a minimum of $48 a month to sponsor a home, but you can spend as much as you want, and you would just be able to give more and more to these families. Okay, so 100% of your tax deductible donations, like I mentioned, go to the projects. There's no admin costs that come out of that. But with Christmas coming up, there's also other ways that you can give. So there's things like you can gift specific things. So I think on their website they have this is how much water is required to feed a child or a family for 3 days or whatever. And so you can actually go, okay, I want to give the gift of clean water for 3 days, you know, and that can be a Christmas gift. Marianne, yes, I knew, very sad. My sister-in-law lives in Cambodia. Yeah. It's pretty huge in Cambodia. I've actually got close family friends that have been over in Cambodia. They've been working with Destiny Rescue for many, many years. They've actually got 3 children as well. And I think they do 6 months on, 6 months off. So they go over and they work in the field, all volunteer. And the kids are over there as well. They work with the kids and all of that stuff. And then they come home and they have 6-month break from that. And because it can get pretty hard with children over there, obviously. But the things that she has seen is pretty horrific. But it's like this. You can even go and visit in Thailand. I mean, I've been to Thailand for holidays, and I've been in bars and seen very young girls soliciting with men or vice versa, and it was quite a shock to my system, and it's pretty full on. So you can just see it even if you're not going to brothels and things like that. You just see them roaming the streets, and you see young girls walking around with old feral men that just are so gross. I can't even wrap my head around the fact that any adult would want to have sex with a child anyway. But, you know, we all know that sex is a natural part of life. It's supposed to be enjoyable, but sex with a child who doesn't want it, who's not finding it enjoyable, like, I'll never, ever, ever, ever understand. And what is scary is that it's predominantly Caucasian Westerners, Western men that are going over to these Asian countries to pay for this child sex. It's just really disgusting and really, really, really sad. Okay, so it costs $1,500 to rescue one girl or one child. So I would love to be able to rescue 2 or 3 girls. So I would love to be able to raise enough money to rescue 2 or 3 girls. So there is a link in the description box below where you can donate directly to my campaign. And this is through the Everyday Hero website. And I will be able to obviously let you know how much I end up raising as well. But I would love to be able to raise at least 2 or 3 girls. So 2 girls is I need to raise $3,000. 3 girls is I need to raise $4,500. So I need all the help I can get. So for those who donate, this is where I'm excited to do this. So for those who donate, I want you to message. Please don't donate anonymously. Please put your name, and then I want you to message me and let me know that you've donated, and tell me the name that you've put next to your donation, because I'm going to be adding you. We're going to connect on Facebook, and I'm going to add you to a private Facebook group where I'm going to do an exclusive live Q&A, where we'll be able to chat, and we'll just be able to talk for, I don't know, an hour, and we'll just be able to talk about anything you guys want. And you will also receive a sample ebook from me too. Okay, so this is my gift to you for saying thank you for supporting me with something that is very, very important to me. And I hope it can be as important to you as it is to me, and that you'll jump on board. And you know, like I said, I want to thank you somehow. So I'm going to send you an ebook. It's like a sample ebook, because my full ebook's not finished yet, but I have a sample one that I'm going to send. And so you'll get some free recipes, and you'll get a live Q&A with me where we can just chat and connect. And I just love to get to know some of you guys, and you can get to know me if you want to a little bit more as well. So, you know, there are many, many horrific stories. I don't even know all the stories. I wouldn't even want to know all the stories, but there's horrific stories about insertion of all sorts. And like I mentioned, it's predominantly Western men going over there. And in India, there are locals that do it as well, but it's mostly Western men. And so it's funny, because as Westerners, we would never consider selling our own children. But then it's our Western men that are flying over to these third world countries and taking part in this. So thankfully, Australia has woken up to this and caught on. And many men who have been charged with pedophilia, any man, sorry, not many men, any man who has been charged with pedophilia in Australia is now not allowed to travel outside of the country. They have their passports taken off them. They can never travel outside of Australia, so that they can't go to these countries and indulge in their perversions and things like that. So I think that is amazing for Australia to have done that, and I really hope that more countries will catch on to these sorts of things ASAP, because like I just saw a comment say, sorry, I can't see the comment, like the comments come up and then they disappear. Show live chat. I can't see them once they disappear. But I saw someone comment and say that it's cheaper, and yeah, that's right. It is cheaper, but it's really, really, really sad that they're going over and just, ooh. Anyway, so we've got a little bit more time here before I have to clock off. So I just wanted to interact with you guys and answer any questions that you might have. So if you do, please write some questions. I saw some questions pop up saying that they didn't know about this. Some people saying that they did know about this. This is just, you know, there's, I don't know, this is something that's happening all over the world. So it's important to recognize that even though this might, we hear about, you know, I'm talking about it happening in these Asian countries, and this is where Destiny Rescue work. It's also happening in Australia. It's also happening in the United States. It's happening all over Europe. So the more awareness that we can get out around this, the better. And so it would be amazing if you donated to the campaign and then shared it. And you could even, I think that my live video is going to stay on YouTube. I haven't done a live before, so I hope it's going to stay up, and you might be able to share this live with people on your personal Facebook, or you can email it and just get the word out, to spread the awareness surrounding this whole industry. We just need to bring this down. This is not an industry that should be happening. Like, it's really sad. Like, knowing that I have a child the same age as that someone, you know, Destiny Rescue have rescued is really, really eye-opening, and it really hits home for me. And but even, like, I'm sure that there's people watching that have teenagers, young teenagers. Like, the average age is 13 or 14. Like, just imagine if that was your daughter or your son. So this is what's happening, and these poor children are just completely trapped. There is no way out other than being rescued, and so the more money we can raise to fund these rescue projects, the better. And Destiny Rescue really want to get to a point where they can say that the number of rescues have gone down because they have made that much of a difference and that much of an impact that the trade is suffering. But it's just not the case right now. So there is so much more work that needs to be done, a lot more money that needs to be raised. And like I mentioned with the prevention care, I think, as with, you know, disease and all of that stuff, I always talk about prevention. You can heal yourself from diseases by diet and lifestyle changes, but prevention is better than a cure, always. And so while it's amazing that Destiny Rescue is going out and rescuing these girls, that needs to happen. These children need to be rescued, but the prevention is also really important, because when we take care of the prevention side of things, we're going to see a decrease in the number of children that like end up in sex trafficking. So being able to fund this prevention care by taking care of their families, and sponsoring a home so that they don't feel like they need to sell their children into the trade. Also, they don't feel like they need to even send their child into the city to get work. These are the things that are going to help. And then part of that, you know, sponsoring a home is obviously, like I mentioned, they get education, but they also get the vocational training. And so they have skills, life skills, that they can use to get proper jobs. Because you have to understand that when these kids go into the city, they don't have any skills. So they are just waiting, wishing, hoping that they can find some sort of work. And they oftentimes end up in... I just saw Pizzagate, and I'm glad you brought that up. Yep. Yes, I know about Pizzagate, and that is just one example of it happening in our Western countries. And there's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes with big, important, elite people that are, you know, all involved in this trafficking trade. So yes, thanks for bringing that up. That's something that people can definitely look into. It's pretty scary. So what was I saying? When they go into the city, they don't have these skills to be able to go and, you know, get a job, so they end up in the trade. But when we sponsor this prevention care, we are giving them vocational training and skills so that when they go to the cities and do find work, they are able to get a real job. They have the confidence that they know they have skills, so they have the confidence to go and find good work. And so prevention, I'm so about the prevention even more than the rescuing, although the rescuing is important for right now because there are so many children that need to be rescued. But let's also focus on prevention so that this doesn't keep happening, because if we don't focus on prevention, we're just going to keep rescuing for the rest of our lives. And what I would rather us stop it than just keep rescuing them out of it. Has anyone been to any of these countries and seen, not specifically seen this kind of stuff, but has anyone been to Thailand? Like I talk about Thailand because I've only, out of these countries that they deal with, I've only been to Thailand. But have you seen, like, there's just small children always walking around the bars late at night. I went to Thailand in 2009 the first time, and I remember this is before my healthy vegan days, and I was out drinking at a bar, and I was with my partner at the time and some friends, and we were just hanging out, having a good time, and this little girl came over to us, and I swear she would not have been older than 6, maybe 7, but I really feel like she was only 6. And she was selling leis. Are they called leis? The necklaces made out of flowers. And Yeah, I know. You can totally drink if you're a vegan, but I was like, going out and getting wasted. That's what I kind of meant. But anyway, this little girl was just going around to the bars and trying to sell these lays. I think that's what they're called. And I just remember immediately just something in my gut felt weird. Like it just didn't sit well with me. And I actually kind of feel bad now because I have pictures with her and stuff, but I just fell in love with this little girl. She was so beautiful and sweet, and her parents had sent her out at night to sell these necklaces, and the reason they send their children out is because people are more likely to feel sorry for a child and go, oh, that's so cute, and buy from a child, right? People are more likely to turn away an adult. So I get out of desperation why they do it, but it's just so sad that it has to come to that. And so this little girl she walked to the bar like every night that we were there. And I kept talking to her. I was like, beautiful girl, like, what are you doing out this late at night? This is at midnight, 1 a.m. And she's just out trying to make money for her family. And I just felt terrible. And I just gave her so much money because I just was like, please go home. Like, I'll buy all your necklaces right now so you can go home to your family. And I actually did that one night, and then she left and came back with more. So her parents had sent her back out with more. So this is like the level of desperation that they have in order to survive and make money. And yeah, it's horrible. It's happening all over. There's children, tiny, small age children are just sitting around, like walking around the bars trying to sell stuff. And so I remember actually saying to the little girl, oh my gosh, like, I want to take you home. I want to protect you from this life. And I probably shouldn't have said that, but she didn't come with me, obviously. But I felt so terribly. So even though that she wasn't sex trafficked, that was my first experience seeing the exploitation of children, because even if they're not being sexually exploited, children are being exploited in these countries because the families are so desperate to make money because of they just don't have life skills to get proper jobs. So they have to be creative and they have to make things and send their children out to bars late at night to sell them. And so if we can focus on prevention, we can actually make a dent in this, and we can change this, and we can make a difference. Yeah, it is a nightmare. It's a complete nightmare. And so that's why raising awareness is probably the most important thing, because with awareness comes donations. With awareness opens people's eyes, and people want to help. And I chose Destiny Rescue because they're a Christian organization, and they just have a heart for children. The founder, what's his name? Sorry, I'll just check my notes. The founder is Tony Kerwin, and he actually was working in this field with another organization, and then he decided that he wanted to do his own thing because he wanted to focus heavily on rescue and aftercare, and there wasn't anyone at the time doing both. And so he really wanted to focus a lot on both. And now they partner with other aftercare organizations, and the cops and schools are in on it. Exactly. Yeah, totally. I mean, yeah, some are in on it and some just turn a blind eye. It's really, really horrible. But so they partner with other aftercare organizations as well, just because they find that they're rescuing so many more children now, which is amazing, but they need more help. And rather than recreate the wheel and try and grow more funding, for that, they're partnering with other organizations that are purely trying to raise donations and funding for that aftercare. But then again, like I said, they focus on the prevention as well, and they take care of the vulnerable. And so sponsoring a home, I'm going to do that. I'm going to sponsor a home because when I heard that, I just thought, yeah, that's what I want to do. I always wanted to sponsor a child. because, you know, I have a heart for children. But when I heard about sponsoring a home, I thought that just makes so much more sense to sponsor the whole home, not just one child in the home. So I would much rather sponsor like a whole family and have all the children grow up being educated and be able to go through school and get a good job, maybe go to university, things that they never would have thought were, you know, imaginable before. And then obviously clothe and feed the home and help, you know, money that helps to maintain and with the upkeep of the home and stuff like that. All right, guys, we're coming to the end of my live. I just want to thank all of you for being on here. If you've stuck with me this whole time, I just so appreciate. You being on here with me and listening to what I have to say. And I hope that this has made an impact on you and that you feel a calling to help. And anything that you can donate is going to help. I don't know your financial situation. If you're more financial and you feel a calling to give more, then thank you. But if you are not financial but you still feel that you want to give, it doesn't matter what your donation is. It's all going to help. And anyone that donates, well, I will say that over $2, it's tax deductible. So you want to get it over $2 for it to be a tax deductible thing. But yeah, I will, please it's important to reach out to me after you donate so that I know to look you up on the donation page, and then I can add you, we can connect, and I can add you to the Facebook group, and I can also send you my ebook, okay? Because that's my thank you to you. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate you guys being on here, and I look forward to meeting some of you. I hope lots of you donate, and that we can connect on Facebook and all of that. So thank you again, and again, the link is in the description below to go to the Everyday Hero page. You'll see it's my personal campaign, and all the money raised there is going to go to Destiny Rescue directly from Everyday Hero. So thank you again, and I hope to connect with all of you really, really, really soon. God bless. Much love.